Y'all go ahead and hit that like button real quick. And let me know you can hear the audio, you can hear my voice, you can hear the music, you can hear the Bitcoin national anthem. All right, y'all. What's going on? We got a lot to cover tonight. If you're tuned in right now, drop something audio good. Thank you, M. Richie Jr. Thank you for that. Audio is good. We're going to play another track real quick, and then we're going to get into tonight's topic. Quite a bit to cover. When y'all drop in, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe as well.
Man. Hey. I made 100 racks off of Bitcoin. You could catch me trapping with the Bitcoin. You could catch me running up the Bitcoin. I spent 6,000 on a Bitcoin. I got Bitcoins.
Man, who making profits right now?
I spent 6,000 on a Bitcoin. I made 100
portfolio on the up and up. You know, of course, we still got a long way till we get back to all-time high. We got some Bitcoiners. This is the first time I've really seen this, but it seems like Bitcoiners are smoking on that hopium with some of these price points, with some of these price predictions I'm seeing. We're going to talk about it here in a little bit, but Bitcoiners getting wild, y'all. But y'all, portfolio is looking really good right now. I'm telling you, it's all about stacking in a bear market. Wow, everything on the up and up.
Bitcoin, I got Bitcoins. Bitcoin, I got Bitcoins. I spent 6,000 on a Bitcoin. I made 100 racks off of Bitcoin. Wake up in the morning, then I count my funds. Running to that money like a marathon. I got Litecoins, Bitcoins, my favorite one. You can see me winning, and you know that they can't tell me nothing. Stacking Bitcoins, getting all this money. He think that he poppin', little homie, stop. Money going up like the stock market.
All right, if y'all tuning in, welcome to Untwisting the Game. We got a lot to cover tonight. We're going to be talking about FedNow. We're going to be talking about the banking crisis. We're going to be talking about the financial crisis. We're going to be talking about NFTs. A lot to cover tonight, so stay tuned. Hit that thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. And welcome. I am Michelle URL. We'll get started here in a second.
Bitcoin, I got Bitcoins. Bitcoin, I got Bitcoins. I spent 6,000 on a Bitcoin. I made 100 racks off of Bitcoin. This cryptocurrency, man, it's crazy. I got Bitcoin, man. I got Litecoin, man. I'm going digital.
Man, y'all, okay, let's get into it a little bit. Stacks, y'all. Stacks has been on a tear. Stacks has, just been wild. Y'all know on this channel we've been covering Stacks for a minute. Just today, up 24% today. Over the past week, 100%. Could have doubled your money. Over the past month, 200%, y'all. Wow. So Stacks has been on an absolute tear. What else? Sovryn has been on an absolute tear. Let me see if I can pull up. This is my first time using this. Let's just go to CoinMarketCap real quick. Sovryn has been on a tear. Sovryn has been working on a lot, y'all, which we're going to cover here in a little bit. And y'all, I know I keep saying I'm going to get this Sovryn series started back up. It's on my agenda. So I'm going to need y'all to be patient with me. If you're dropping in right now, what's up, everybody? We got a lot to cover tonight. If you're new to the channel, drop something in the chat, y'all. What y'all doing? The market's up. We're in the green right now. Yeah, hit that chat, y'all. So yeah, SOV is on the up and up right now as well. Has been on just an absolute utter tear. Let's go back over here. Bitcoin on the up and up, really leading the charge over altcoins, of course, right now. I did not, y'all, I didn't see this coming. I'm going to keep it real. I did not, yeah, I don't know. I didn't see this 27,000. I didn't see it coming, y'all. And I had this moment earlier today when I saw us ripping through 25 to 26, 27. I was like, maybe we're not going to get back down to 15K. I don't know. Maybe this 10K Bitcoin, this 12K Bitcoin that we've all been manifesting is just like not going to come into fruition. I don't know. Because it's moments like what we've seen over the past week, you would have thought it would have affected the crypto market and would have affected the Bitcoin price, but we have seen the opposite, right? We have seen everybody starting to flood into Bitcoin. We had reports, River, which is a Bitcoin app where you can purchase Bitcoin, dollar cost average into Bitcoin. They had an influx of interest over the past week. I think I saw some stat, I didn't verify this, but I think I saw some stat where there was like 1 million new Bitcoin addresses generated over the past week. I don't know, fact check me on that, but it's clear with everything that has been going on with the Fed, everything that has been going on with the implosion of these banks, that people are looking for alternatives, and one of those alternatives is in fact Bitcoin, which we're going to touch on a little bit more, reading some words from Pomp here in a second. So let's move forward. So man, I just love Bitcoiners, man. Like Bitcoiners do not care, especially Bitcoin maximalists. They do not give a fuck. Let me play this clip for y'all real quick.
L'ecosistema de startups de Silicon Valley defensen l'existència d'aquesta mena de bancs perquè només aquestes entitats financen startups quan encara no són rendibles.
Tot i que hi ha més periodistes que clients preocupats, preguntant, la frase que repeteix a tothom el funcionari enviat pel govern és que el banc funciona com si res hagués passat. Fins i tot fan tard els oportunistes que busquen...
Only Bitcoiners, bro. Only Bitcoiners. Where do you see anybody in Cardano pulling up with a truck saying be your own bank? Where do you see anyone in XRP army really in these fucking trenches like Bitcoiners? Where do you see anybody in Polkadot pulling up to your local bank saying be your own bank? You don't see it. Bitcoin maximalists, they're in these trenches, y'all. They're just in these trenches. So this was a delight seeing this.
Traure consumidors decebuts o enfadats amb l'entitat que ha fet fallida. La tranquil·litat que s'ha viscut avui a les...
L'ecosistema de startups de Silicon Valley...
What's up, Crawfish? What's up, the Pothead? What's up? Okay, moving forward, y'all, because people are feeling themselves. Bitcoiners are feeling themselves. Vivek here. 100K Bitcoin this year is confirmed. It will melt Bitcoin critics' faces. So I've been seeing this 100K price prediction from more than one person this year. Hey, I mean, who knows? Who knows? But even better than that, because Balaji here was like 100K. Like, I wiped my ass with that price prediction. Homie here is talking about $1 million Bitcoin within 90 days. Did y'all see this? $1 million Bitcoin within 90 days, y'all. Okay. I also wanted to touch on this real quickly. Because of course, I don't know. I just, okay, here Neil says, Bitboy having absolute mental breakdown. And this was corrected. He made this video before the lawsuit that hit multiple YouTubers this week. But in this video, he attacks Bitcoin Maximalists. He attacks Corey from Swan, and he alleges SEC Chair Gary Gensler is being paid off by the bank. So this video is wild. Let me play this, and then I'll share my thoughts on this.
You don't think they're going to come after Bitcoin if they manage to wipe all the proof of stake blockchains out, which they're not going to? But if they did, you don't think they'd go for Bitcoin? Okay, come on, guys. Well, you think Gary Gensler is just going to say, "Oh, you know what? We love Bitcoin more than the banks. That's right. We love Bitcoin." How dumb are you? How stupid are you? How dumb are you? If that's what you think. If look at Corey Clippins.
You know what? And I just want to. It's just wild to me that you have somebody here who has promoted, and trust me, we've all had bad takes. A lot of us have had bad takes on projects to get involved with, including myself. But in terms of who has taken the most L's in front of the most people, is Bitboy by far, right? In incredibly insane scams that he has promoted, but yet is calling, Bitcoiners dumb. Like, you really cannot make it make sense, right? Everything with the crypto projects to the exchanges and the lending and all this stuff that he was promoting, while Bitcoiners the entire time were ringing alarm bells on all of this stuff, and he's still calling Bitcoiners dumb and stupid. You cannot make it make sense.
This guy right here is the biggest douche in the history of mankind. He looks like MacGruber from a Saturday Night Live episode. This man would do anything to put his hands down Gary Gensler's pants. That's what he wants. He wants to put his hands in his pants and say, "Oh, Bitcoin, yeah, you like that? Bitcoin, Gary Gensler." You don't think Gary Gensler's coming after Bitcoin next? How effing stupid are you? He came in as this block.
Let's remember, Corey is the one who saved maybe thousands of people from getting their funds stolen from the likes of Celsius, from the likes of FTX, from the likes of many of these scam projects. You can say whatever you want to about Corey. Can he be a bit of a douchebag? Probably. I think that could be argued. I mean, he's just straight up, right? He has a very strong view on things. He's a Bitcoin maximalist. But at the end of the day, while everybody else was fooling around with all these bullshit platforms and projects, Corey was saying, wake up, right? So.
Blockchain expert, he's in the blockchain. Oh, he loves Bitcoin. You think Goldman Sachs loves Bitcoin? Is it not clear by now what these people are trying to do? Is it not clear to you? The Bitcoin maximalists are the worst of all. If you don't think.
Again, and we're just gonna end the clip right here. You can watch the rest of it on Twitter. And Corey actually responded to this meltdown, but you can say whatever you want about Bitcoin maximalists being toxic, being this, being that, being the other, being mean, whatever. Bitcoin maximalists have consistently been right. And I don't care what anyone says. Bitcoin maximalists are the most morally sound in this space, period, point blank, end of discussion. And if you do not get that, you have not been down this Bitcoiner maximalist rabbit hole enough. You have not read the immense essays, the philosophies. Like, Bitcoin maximalists, it does not get more pure than that. Can they be toxic? 100%. Nobody's going to keep it real with you like a Bitcoin maximalist. But at the end of the day, if it was between Bitboy and a Bitcoin maximalist, I would choose a Bitcoin maximalist. If it was between a shitcoiner and a Bitcoin maximalist, I would choose a Bitcoin maximalist every single time and what they have to say over shitcoiners and crypto influencers and all of that, right? They're just, it's a different level, y'all. It's a different fucking level, y'all. And y'all really have to go down. Y'all really have to surround. I didn't get it until I started surrounding myself by Bitcoiners and Bitcoin maximalists, right? Until you put yourself in that quote toxicity and surround yourself in that, you're just not going to see it, right? Crawfish, Bitboy calls everyone dumb. Yeah. Meanwhile, his resume isn't the best. I don't know. Just crazy stuff. Let's move forward, y'all. Let's get into NFTs, y'all. How are we feeling about NFTs? So this screenshot here was kind of going around today. And I tried to find another tweet that someone did where they kind of broke this down. But this tweet says, your favorite blue chip NFT is actually a rug. I think this is a really interesting conversation and a really good point of reflection to have, right? So Doodles went from a 14.8 floor price to 3.6. Moonbirds, 29 ETH. 29 Ether floor price to 3.8. Clone X, right? Which I have a Clone X. 17. Yo, bro. Clone X went from 17.9 ETH floor price. And I don't even know when, it doesn't even say the date. It was higher than this. It was like a 20 floor price at one point. A 20 ETH floor price in the height of the bull run. It's now 3.4 Ether. Y'all. So, you know what's crazy about this? Because I vividly remember when all this was happening, right? This is just the floor price for Clone X, right? If you had a demon, it was higher. If you had an angel like me, I think at one point I had like there was like a 22 ETH offer on my angel during the height, right? Now look where we're at, right? So lessons learned. Bro. So I think that definitely some lessons and takeaways here, right? I do think it is possible to get back to these all-time high floor prices. How we get there, I don't know. Maybe it's just getting out of this rut of a bear market that we've been in, because the bear market sentiment has leaked into everything, right? Especially within the artifact community. Everybody is just like complaining, and there's this wild sense of entitlement that is happening. My whole thing is, if you aren't happy with what the team is doing, if you aren't satisfied, sell. It really is truly that simple, right? You can give your input, you can give your feedback, you can make sure that is heard, and that you're communicating how you feel and what you think could be beneficial to the community. You can do that on Twitter. There's room and space for that within the artifact community. But if you're not feeling it and everything is just always a complaint, just sell, right? It really is that simple. Now, this is where I think it gets interesting, because if we move over here, and I see y'all in the chat, I'm going to get to the chat here in a second. Big Wise says, I see a lot of supposedly blue chip NFT projects tanking. Sorry to say, but people are starting to wake up to the concept of real value. Try deleting the floor price of your favorite project. Start from zero and add in the benefits point by point, putting a reasonable dollar value next to each benefit. See what the total value ends up being, then compare it to the floor price. I bet in most cases they don't match. Don't forget, whatever value you included from things like airdrops might be things that will not be given in the future. Here's a simple table I made up that shows the difference in attitude between people who buy into overpriced projects versus people who buy into something reasonable. So let's just take, this is really interesting. So let's just take Artifact, for example, in a CloneX. At the time CloneX dropped, it was about $12,000, right? It was 3 ETH. And at that time, 3 ETH was going for around $4,000 a pop, right? So here's the thing. You would have made your money. This is why, I'm not understanding some of the mindset that people in the Artifact community are having. I get everybody's frustrated, and we are in a bear market. And I have not been happy with some of the things, how Artifact has carried out some of these launches myself. I haven't been too happy. But at the end of the day, if you did sell, you would have made your money back and then some, right? We got free airdrop of the space pod, right? That was, floor was out the wazoo on that for a long time. We got the monolith one, floor out the wazoo, right? So if you were selling along the way, you would have made your money back and then some. But the thing is, people weren't selling, including myself. I don't think I've sold anything that I've gotten from Artifact, right? So, and with that, so there's that piece, okay? And I think this is where it's important, if you are going to be an NFT degen, especially right now, because it's kind of crazy to get into projects right now, I think, but I don't know, to each their own. But also, it's like the value I also see in CloneX and in Artifact in general is Nike. That is huge. And I still don't think people really realize how important that collaboration is. Now, could something happen next year and Artifact is kicked to the wayside? I don't know, maybe. You know, maybe that partnership ends. But I think it's very, very valuable, that Nike partnership. We got Nike launching .swoosh, right? Which is somewhat, I don't want to say linked to CloneX and Artifact, but there's an obvious collaboration there. Collaboration isn't the best word. But then you also have the IP as well, right? And so that's a whole nother thing with CloneX. If you had a clone, if you had access to the 3D files, if you were involved in the community, creators were making money out the wazoo in the height of the bull run, creating 3D files, creating 3D skins for the space pods. Like the ETH volume for some of these creators in the community was wild. Like quit your job wild, right? So again, I think this really is the perfect time to take a step back on the projects that you like, that you're investing in, and really sit back and be like, what am I getting out of this? What is the purpose of it? Do I align with this vision anymore? Do I align with the direction that this project is going in? Because I've been having those conversations with myself, and I've been making some moves appropriately, because some of the things that I was involved in, I'm just not really feeling the direction of where it's going anymore, right? And so if that's the case, then maybe I need to make some trades, reevaluate the portfolio, and put those funds into something else that I believe in much stronger. Let's hit the chat. The pothead, what's up with the other dude who used to be on the video? Short-term memory, can't think of his name. What are you talking about there? The pothead, are you talking about videos with Bitboy? Or something else? Let me know on that. Crawfish, Creole. Oh, okay. Oh, you mean these videos? Yeah, Creole. Yeah, Creole is still around. He has been doing more debates recently. He's been on Ty City's channel recently. I think like a couple weeks ago, he did a debate on that channel. So that's where Creole has been. I'll tell you, I keep telling him people are asking about him, so hopefully I can get him back on the live streams. But he's still around. He's just been on other channels, and I think he's been doing Twitter Spaces and things of that nature. The pothead never got into the NFT. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things. NFTs is, it's kind of like if you're bored, get into NFTs, or if you like art, get into NFTs or collectibles. Like, you know, it's not for everybody. And I don't think everybody should get involved with this because there's more downside than there is upside. You have to be really particular and do your research on these projects. The pothead, opinion on Pulse Chain if it actually comes out. Pulse Chain, is that, I don't know why I'm thinking Hex on that. Does that have something to do with Hex? Pulse Chain. That sounds familiar. Let me know more on that, the pothead. Crawfish, NFTs will either be insanely valuable in several years or be worth zero. No real in between. And if it is just an IPFS link to a profile pic, then it's not looking good. Right. And I agree with that. And that was my direction going into NFTs in the first place. If it is not actual art created by an artist or a traditional artist, you know, if it's not a Daniel Arsham piece, or if it's not an artist who has a foundation in art, then I'm probably not going to mess with it. And if it's not a project that is bringing real value and innovation, like, that is why I got into CloneX and Artifact, because I did not see anybody doing what they were doing at the time, right? And really having the broader vision that they had. I mean, Artifact blew me away a couple years ago, right? And so it truly is about finding things that you truly like. I think it's important to like what you're buying, and also you see the long-term value in it. If it's none of that, then I don't know why do it. The pothead, Richard Hart. Yeah, Richard Hart. What was your question on that? Opinion on Pulse Chain. So my opinion in general is I don't trust it. I don't do it. I mean, it's not to say that you can't make money. You can't make a quick buck from it. Like I said, anybody who wants to play these different altcoins and whatever, make a quick buck, go for it. I do not like Richard Hart at all. I think I've talked about this in the Discord. Now, I've never met the guy in person, right? I've actually heard from another channel that Richard Hart is a cool guy in person. But from what I've seen in debates, from what I've seen in his interviews, I'm just turned off. That's me personally, for one, right? Some people are like, who cares? Just make your buck. Again, if that's you, do it. Two, so one, I do not like Richard Hart. For two, it's all fake. Like it's and again, this is where like the Bitcoin mindset comes in for me. I'm just and I'm really thinking about Hex right now because that's what I know more about than anything. I just don't get why. Like why? Right? Unless you're getting in it to make a profit, why get into it? Why? For what? That's just where my mind goes. Like I said, I don't know enough about it to talk about the technicals or anything else. But for me, it's probably a no. It's probably like 95% a no. Unless I just saw some way to make a quick buck to put profit back into Bitcoin, I'm not going to do it. Crawfish, I haven't done a bunch of research on Pulse Chain. I know he forked ETH and was going to do POS, proof of stake, but ETH went to proof of stake, so I'm not sure why you'd use Pulse now. The pothead, he used to be a BTC maxi way back. Pothead, def to get profit put into BTC and ETH eventually. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you, like I said, I have nothing against, it's always a question of morality and ethics, in my opinion, when it comes to, you know, playing the altcoin casino, but do it, right? I'm doing it with a couple projects. So, but again, always with the intention to put those profits back into Bitcoin. All right, y'all, let's move forward before I lose my voice. And so another thing, going into the artifact FUD, a lot of people, including myself, have just kind of been underwhelmed with some of the physical products. So there was a little, backlash on the 3D render of some of these artifact items versus what it looks like they actually are, right? Which I definitely was taken aback by that as well. However, Artifact is still doing some good stuff, right? They just came out with the Nike Artifact collab jersey. I think this was a soccer jersey or something like that dropped a while back. It looks dope. I've seen many different pictures of it from different angles. It looks dope. Also,
to give you guys a sneak peek of the actual physical.
This is a sneak peek of the physical sneakers that are going to be dropping. So you got Demon, Reptile, Angel. I think that's the Angel shoe, or is that the robot? That might be the robot. So again, there's going to be some hits and there's going to be some misses, and you just kind of got to take it for what it is, right? So let's get into the nitty gritty here. The major financial crisis, pending financial crisis. All right, y'all, hit that thumbs up for me. Okay, Pompier says, I believe we are in a major financial crisis. This may be one of the most important things I've written in a long time. The current situation is alarming. The future is uncertain, and we are in a lose-lose scenario. So again, he does have an audio sample of this article. I'm just going to touch on a few things in this so we kind of get the gist of what is happening, because apparently it's not looking too good. Okay. There's a massive financial crisis underway at the moment. Alarm sirens are going off almost every day. As a friend told me yesterday, bodies keep floating to the surface. This is really, really not good. 2 days ago, we got word that Credit Suisse was under immense stress, and the Swiss National Bank agreed to step in with tens of billions of dollars in liquidity. Yesterday, it was announced that the First Republic Bank was going to receive $30 billion in deposits from 11 other banks. $30 billion doesn't get handed to you by your competitors if there aren't some major issues at hand. Okay. One of the biggest problems with this pivot is that the Fed has not yet won their battle against inflation. In fact, the Fed increased interest rates by 4.5% and dumped about $1 trillion off their balance sheet, but they never got inflation below 6%. Major problem. The Fed is increasing their balance sheet because they have to lend money to the banks. Without this new injection of liquidity, many of the banks appear to be insolvent due to their unrealized losses on long duration, low yield debt. Okay. And so this is a good point. And Simon also talked about this in a recent stream that he did. It's on his YouTube channel. This is an issue of poor risk management, right? With these long duration assets, securities that the banks had, right? It may be worse than that, though. Balaji is the guy saying $1 million Bitcoin in 90 days. It may be worse than that, though. Balaji describes the gravity of the situation with the following. The record shows that the entire U.S. banking system, the Fed, the banks, and the bank regulators knew by 2022 that they had lost the money of millions of depositors. Banks tried hiding the losses via hold-to-maturity accounting tricks, parentheses should be called hide-to-maturity, and regulators allowed them to bury the fact of their literal insolvency in footnotes. But this just deferred the judgment for a bit. In a sense, the entire bill for many years of printing was coming due all at once. Hundreds of billions of dollars in losses for the central bank, the commercial banks. All of it had to be imposed on someone. One way to think about what has happened here is to compare Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX debacle to the actions of U.S. regulated banks. FTX reportedly took in customer deposits and invested them in high-risk assets, which ended up leading to massive financial loss of the depositors' funds. These losses and the overall failed scheme was exposed when depositors conducted a run on the bank last year. Whew! U.S. regulated banks have done something that looks eerily similar. They took customer deposits and invested them in the wrong assets. Now the big difference is that the banks were not buying crypto assets, but rather buying U.S. treasuries and other debt instruments, but which have been historically seen as low risk. Okay? So this brings us to the current crisis. The Federal Reserve and other central banks around the world are in a lose-lose scenario. If they increase their balance sheet and stop hiking rates, they will be able to quell the banking crisis. The trade-off will be a loose monetary policy in a high inflation environment, which will almost certainly lead to significantly higher inflation in the future. I do not think the Federal Reserve, FDIC, OCC, and other organizations will allow a banking crisis to occur on their watch. That is a good thing, but in order to prevent the banking crisis, we will likely see a return of loose monetary policy, and inflation will continue to resist the Fed's demands. If our monetary policy decisions create high inflation, we should expect people to flee the dollar and look for alternatives. Okay, one of these alternatives being Bitcoin, right? So he's saying here some will go to gold or foreign currencies, but Pomp is saying the likelihood of people going into Bitcoin is probably higher, right? Bitcoin is going to be the winner. So if we go down here, it is going to be essential that you pay attention in the coming weeks. You need to be informed. As Vladimir Lenin said, there are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. Given that 2 of the 3 largest bank failures in U.S. history happened last week, these may be a few weeks where decades happen. Okay, so there it is. There's the take heed, call to action, pay attention moment here, right? What has happened over the past week and the past 7 days is bad. Okay? And we should move forward at least knowing that more dominoes could fall. Okay? And so let's go over here to this article. Let's hit the chat. Actually, let me finish this article real quick and then we'll hit the chat. Let me know y'all's thoughts on this in the chat. SVB and the new banking crisis, the anatomy of a further deterioration of capitalism in 7 days. So let's go down here. By Wednesday, Credit Suisse, a Swiss bank, which had nothing to do with the SVB crisis, tech or digital assets, saw its shares lose 20% of their value as the bank's largest investor ruled out providing it with any more capital. This appears to be a separate incident unrelated to the original incident, though has some copycat attributes. By Thursday, Credit Suisse had arranged a $50 billion backstop with the Swiss National Bank, just as shares in U.S. First Republic Bank tanked. Okay? And so if we go over here, breaking trading halted again on First Republic Bank, down 21% as fears of banking contagion persist. People are spooked. Okay? Everybody is spooked. By Friday's market opening, First Republic shares were down over 20% and Wall Street banks jumped in with $30 billion of deposits to help shore it up. As markets closed Friday, SVB's parent company, SVB Financial Group, was reported to have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in a federal court in New York. For many in the global banking sector, this has been the worst week since the collapse of the Lehman Brothers on September the 15th, 2008. Hello. Ha! Woo! Y'all. Okay, let's hit the chat real quick. There's no way. Crawfish casual 19 trillion market cap in 90 days. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Homie may be hitting that hopium pipe because I don't see it. But he has a bet going. Terms of the bet, ideally someone can set up a smart contract where BTC is worth $1 million in 90 days, then I win. If it's worth less than $1 million in 90 days, then the counterparty gets the $1 million in USD. Balaji is wildin', y'all. Okay, let's move forward here. So I'm going to play this clip about local community banks, okay? And Corey says here, OMG, we are so fucked. And this is what Janet Yellen.
Start with some of the banking issues we're dealing with on it. Will the deposits in every community bank in Oklahoma, regardless of their size, be fully insured now? Are they fully recovered? Every bank, every community bank in Oklahoma, regardless of the size of the deposit, will they get the same treatment that SVB just got or Signature Bank just got?
A bank only gets that treatment if a majority of the FDIC board, a supermajority of the Fed board, and I, in consultation with the president, determine that the failure to protect uninsured depositors would create systemic risk and significant economic and financial consequences.
So what is
And
your
we
plan?
made that determination.
Right. So
these
what is
two
your
banks.
plan to keep large depositors from moving their funds out of community banks into the big banks? We have seen the mergers of banks over the past decade. I'm concerned you're about to accelerate that by encouraging anyone who has a large deposit in a community bank to say, we're not going to make you whole, but if you go to one of our preferred banks, we will make you whole at that point.
Look, I mean, that's certainly not something that we're encouraging.
That is happening right now.
That is happening because depositors are concerned about the bank failures that have happened and whether or not other banks could also
No, it's
fail.
happening
And
because you're
it's-
fully insured no matter what the amount is if you're in a big bank. You're not fully insured if you're in a community bank.
Well, you're not fully insured. And
You
the big-
were at Signature, and
the
it
big-
just barely met that threshold. You were at Signature.
Well, we felt that there was a serious risk of contagion that could have brought down and triggered runs on many banks. And that's something, given that our judgment is that the banking system overall is safe and sound, depositors should have confidence in the system, and we took these actions.
So there's a
to
special
discourage
assessment that's been done
contagion.
on community banks in my state and all banks across the country. Was there any discussion that that special assessment would only apply to the larger banks, or was it always assumed the special assessment would cover every bank, including rural banks in my state?
I think, I'm not certain what the rules are around that. That's for the FDIC to determine.
It has been reported publicly that SVB had a large number of Chinese investors that are there, including some that were companies directly connected to the Chinese Communist Party. Will those individuals, companies, entities, and investors that are Chinese investors be made whole based on assessments in my banks in Oklahoma? So what I'm asking is, will my banks in Oklahoma pay a special assessment to be able to make Chinese investors whole from Silicon Valley Bank?
Uninsured investors will be made whole in that bank, and I suppose that could include foreign depositors, but I don't believe there's any legal basis to discriminate among uninsured.
I get it, but I'm
depositors.
just saying my community banks are going to pay this additional fee. It is always fascinating to me as well, the conversation that taxpayers are being made whole in this, that taxpayers are not going to have any kind of consequence on this. I'm sure my bankers are going to be very excited to know they no longer pay taxes.
Y'all, whew. And I see your comment, Crawfish. The FDIC can only cover around 1% of all bank deposits in the U.S. So honestly, what is more important about this thread is this. Y'all, this right here, okay, is mandatory material, mandatory reading material. Honestly, for everybody, everybody should read this book. If you're in Bitcoin, if you're in crypto, if you're in any of this finance, whatever, this is crucial reading material, okay? This right here, I mean, it tells you everything. It tells you everything that's going to happen. It tells you everything that happened. It tells you how all this shit works. It tells you the future. It breaks down everything. So here it says, don't know who needs to hear this. Go read The Creature from Jekyll Island to understand the game plan. The name of the game is bailout. Privatize gain, socialize losses. Y'all, when I tell y'all, this book, when I read this, it's eerie, right? And we just talked about this last week with The Big Short, and that movie, mandatory movie that needs to be seen. It's eerie. The information in this book is just eerie. It puts chills down your spine, right? And so just to read a little bit of this, and I actually think I found okay, let me read this to you, this little excerpt about the run on the banks. Okay, so this is page 13 in the book. And the section is called The Specter of Bank Failure. The greatest threat, however, came not from rivals of private capital formation, but from the public at large in the form of what bankers call a run on the bank. This is because when banks accept a customer's deposits, they give in return a balance in his account. This is the equivalent of a promise to pay back the deposit anytime he wants. Likewise, when another customer borrows money from the bank, he also is given an account balance, which usually is withdrawn immediately to satisfy the purpose of the loan. This creates a ticking time bomb because at that point, the bank has issued more promises to pay on demand than it has money in the vault. Even though the depositing customer thinks he can get his money anytime he wants, in reality, it has been given to the borrowing customer and no longer is available at the bank. What do we call this, right? Fractional reserve banking. The problem is compounded further by the fact that the banks are allowed to lend even more money than they have received in deposit, right? The mechanism for accomplishing this seemingly impossible feat will be described in a later chapter, but it is a fact of modern banking that promise to pay often exceeds savings deposits by a factor of 10 to 1, fractional reserve, right? And because only about 3% of these accounts are actually retained in the vault in the form of cash, the rest having been put into even more loans and investments. The bank's promises exceed its ability to keep those promises by a factor of over 300 to 1. Y'all. Hello. Oh, man. It's time to wake up. It is time to wake up. And a couple comments here, which I agree with. This is absolutely correct. However bad you think it is, when you read The Creature of Jekyll Island, you realize it's actually much worse than you thought. For the life of me, I don't understand why more people have not read or listened to this book. It's crystal clear what's happening. It's crystal clear, right? And again, let me read this little section in here because this was important. It was stated in the previous chapter that the Jekyll Island group, which conceived the Federal Reserve System, actually created a national cartel which was dominated by the larger banks. It was also stated that a primary objective of that cartel was to involve the federal government as an agent for shifting the inevitable losses from the owners of those banks to the taxpayers. That, of course, is one of the more controversial assertions made in the book, yet there's little room for any other interpretation when one confronts the massive evidence of history since the system was created. Oh, wow. Yep. So what can we do? Right? Natalie has an answer here, right? Ways Bitcoin is better than your bank. Isn't closed on nights, weekends, or bank holidays. Doesn't lend out your savings. No CEO or execs to pay themselves bonuses before a blow up. And on this one, I read somewhere, one of these banks or whatever, they cashed out millions of dollars in some of the execs, owners, whatever, cashed out millions of dollars of stocks or something like that a couple of months before all this blew up. I don't know. I briefly saw it on TV earlier today, but we all know this stuff happens, right? It always comes out. Doesn't lobby politicians, won't censor or monitor your transactions, doesn't buy leveraged government securities, never needs a bailout, available 24/7 in all countries. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bitcoin. This is the revolution. This is the peaceful revolution. Right? This is taking your power back. This is taking your time back. Man, what a time. What a time to be alive. Let's move forward. So we're going to talk about FedNow, and then we're going to end on a new stablecoin option, okay? Anything in the chat? All right, let me know y'all thoughts in the chat, y'all, because we're going to end it off here in a few minutes. Here it says, Federal Reserve announces July launch for the FedNow service. The Federal Reserve announced that the FedNow service will start operating in July and provided details on preparations for launch. The first week of April, the Federal Reserve will begin the formal certification of participants for launch of the service. In June, the Federal Reserve and certified participants will conduct production validation activities to confirm readiness for the July launch. Quote, we couldn't be more excited about the forthcoming FedNow launch, which will enable every participating financial institution, the smallest to the largest and from all corners of the country, to offer a modern instant payment solution. With the FedNow service, the Federal Reserve is creating a leading-edge payment system that is resilient, adaptive, and accessible. The launch reflects an important milestone in the journey to help financial institutions serve customer needs for instant payments to better support nearly every aspect of our economy. The Federal Reserve banks are developing the FedNow service to facilitate nationwide reach of instant payment services by financial institutions, regardless of size or geographic location, around the clock, every day of the year. Through financial institutions participating in the FedNow service, businesses and individuals will be able to send and receive instant payments at any time of day, and recipients will have full access to funds immediately, giving them greater flexibility to manage their money and make time-sensitive payments. So what does this mean? So I think there was not misinformation, but just a little bit of clumping of CBDCs and this FedNow information. I was seeing a lot of that clumping of information. And this isn't the launch of a CBDC. Now, could we see FedNow somehow help later down the road in facilitating these CBDCs, possibly. And Simon,
Let's take a look at how one financial
talks about that
institution might
here.
do this.
So before I play that video, Simon here kind of breaks this down. When banks deposit at FedNow, they are swapping for a balance with the Fed and an API that makes the bank front-end UI for transferring FedNow balances. You may have to read that a couple times. I had to read it a couple times. It's not new CBDC, but could be beta for deposit CBDC swap. More like a stablecoin with no blockchain. Okay? Do we kind of get that? So let me play this video real quick and then we'll move forward.
Today, people and businesses expect to make and receive payments at the click of a button any time of the day, every day of the year. And most expect their financial institutions to offer or support payment services that meet the speed and convenience they seek. In fact, 3 in 4 businesses and 2/3 of consumers surveyed think it's important that their bank or credit union offer faster payments. Financial institutions interested in meeting these demands can use the Federal Reserve's upcoming FedNow service to build innovative payment offerings that can help them retain and attract customers and avoid losing out to the competition. With the FedNow service launching in 2023, the time to start preparing is now.
Okay, so that's all I'm going to play for that. So hopefully that kind of clears up this information a little bit because, yeah, I was seeing a lot of posts kind of all over the place about this today. All right, let's move forward and talk Sovryn, okay? Like I have said, we've been talking about Sovryn for a little bit on this channel. I started a Sovryn series breaking down everything Sovryn. I need to start it back up. I've been saying that I'm going to start it back up. I haven't yet, but again, I'm going to ask y'all to be patient with me. So stay tuned for that. If you want to get caught back up on what Sovryn is, we have a Sovryn playlist on our channel. You can look at the videos I've done over Sovryn and get an understanding of what is going on here. So that being said, a new era of stablecoins has arrived. The SovrynDollar is a game changer, a decentralized Bitcoin-backed dollar you can truly own, which is live now. So they just launched this. Say goodbye to centralized stablecoin drama and hello to unmatched security and reliability. Okay, and so there's a thread. There's also a neat little video here kind of going over everything. But let's go over here to the website and just read a little bit about this. I will do a video over this eventually, okay, and go in depth on this information. But I just want to cover a couple points here because I think this really could be a solid alternative to Tether, USDC, DAI, and all that other stuff, right? The SovrynDollar is a truly, I don't even think y'all can see that. Okay. The SovrynDollar is a truly transparent digital dollar. It's the new decentralized, censorship-resistant stablecoin backed exclusively by Bitcoin. The SovrynDollar is an aggregated stablecoin. It has a 1-to-1 peg with a value of USD and is composed of a diversified basket of other exclusively Bitcoin-backed stablecoins. It's a stablecoin that is actually stable. So the real information that I think is important. Okay, what is dollar backed by? The SovrynDollar will initially be backed by ZUSD and DOC, money on chain DOC. Now, we're going to have to cover that in a different video, okay? But there's that in short. The SovrynDollar may be backed by other stablecoins in the future to further aggregate Bitcoin-backed stablecoin liquidity and as a way to grow dollar to become the Bitcoin stablecoin standard. How does it maintain its peg? This is pretty important. Right? The sovereign dollar can always be swapped, burned, or minted for a specific stablecoin in the aggregator, which maintains its equivalence to them. Each individual stablecoin has its own peg mechanism. ZUSD can be redeemed by any holder for the equivalent USD value in BTC. Borrowers can obtain ZUSD for as little as 110% of USD value in BTC. DOC is over-collateralized by BTC, and the system maintains a balance of supply to keep the value of 100% of USD. So what does that mean? I don't know, to keep it honest. We're going to have to do a deep dive into this because I want to know technicals behind this, right? Because I know we've heard about algorithms and, you know, this, that, and the other. So like I said, we're going to take some time to really dive into this and break this apart bit by bit. So, but I did wanted to mention that if it's something of interest to you, I know something of interest to me, and it's something that I'm going to continue to explore. Take a look at it. All right. And they did do a space on this. I think that was yesterday. They had a live space. It was either yesterday or Wednesday where they talked all about the sovereign dollar. If you want to take a look at that for more information. All right, y'all. Drop any other questions real quick or comments in the chat, and then we'll go ahead and close it out.
Cryptocurrency, man. Man. Hey. I made 100 racks off of big
Crawfish, it's definitely a pilot program for a CBDC. Yeah, I think we can definitely assume and connect the dots that this will be linked to the CBDC in some way. Yeah.
I spent 6,000 on a Bitcoin. I made 100 racks off of Bitcoin. I got on a computer and I bought a Bitcoin. I be so
Thank y'all for tuning in tonight. On your way out, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and also hit that thumbs up.
I got money pouring. I'm doing shows, stacking doughs. Now is you feeling me? I'm running up the bands on cryptocurrency. Send it through the PayPal or the Cash App. Send it through the Bitcoin. Watch my band stack. I made 100 racks off of Bitcoin. You could catch me trapping with the Bitcoin. You could catch me running up the Bitcoins. I spent
Thanks, Crawfish. Have a good night.
Bitcoin. I got Bitcoins. Bitcoin. I got
Thanks,
Bitcoins. I spent 6,000 on a Bitcoin. I made 100 racks off of Bitcoin. Wake up in the morning, then I count my funds. Running to that money like a marathon. I got Litecoins, Bitcoin's my favorite one. You can see me winning, and you know that they can't tell me nothing. Stacking Bitcoins, getting all this money. He think that he poppin', little homie, stop. Money going up like the stock market. Flipping Bitcoins and bought a Aston Martin. I'm a hustler, I be on the internet stacking. Made $1 million off of Bitcoins. I went platinum.
Passive income, it means your dollar will vary in value as BTC goes up and down.
I made 100 racks off of Bitcoin. You could catch me trapping with a Bitcoin. You could catch me running up the
I think I get what you're saying.
I spent 6,000 on a
Yo,
Bitcoin.
it's been a long day. I'm gonna have to. Woo!
Bitcoin. I got Bitcoin. I spent 6,000 on a Bitcoin. I made 100 racks off of Bitcoin. It's cryptocurrency, man. It's crazy. I got Bitcoin, man. I got Litecoin.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up on the way out. Have a blessed weekend, and I'll see y'all next Friday.
So